So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Frank, for inviting me. It was actually 1 year ago when I flew together with my friend Johannes Diemer to the United States to be part of the Lustre User Group 2010 in Aptus. And during that trip, we actually experienced two catastrophes. Number one was that we couldn't fly back because of the volcano ash, you might remember. So that was really a finding for a chance to go back to Europe days later. And the second catastrophe was that Oracle announced the stop of development and support of Lustre on Linux. And as you all know, a lot of companies, a lot of sites were in projects based on the future roadmap on Lustre for Linux. So in walking on the beach in Aptus, waiting for our flight back home, and later on coming together with European sites and vendors from all over the world, we discussed how to overcome the problem created by Oracle. And one of the decisions was to go into a foundation in Europe called the European Open File Systems Cooperative. We came together on December the 15th in Munich in our offices, and we agreed unanimously to set up a cooperation under European law, which we could do so since August 2006, where the European Union established a framework called SCE, which allows you to form an association with the German word Genossenschaft, but you can move that legal framework from one member of the EU to another one. So you can shift it within the 27 member states, and it still works under the individual framework in these countries. You are a member, you are a stakeholder of that SCE, and the purpose, the headline on this day was the promotion and the servicing of the member needs for an open parallel file system. You see, quite a lot of people joined together in Munich. You have the Forschungszentrum Jülich, you had Bühl, you had my company Partech, you had CEA, Data Direct, the universities in Zurich and Paderborn, GSI, Credative, T-Platforms from Russia, HP-CFS, Hewlett-Packard, of course, WAM Cloud, and the LRC in Munich. They voted for a board. Klaus Wolkersdorfer von Jülich, Eric Monjalin, Jean Gonor, Walter Schön, Arndt Bode, and Johannes Diemer joined together to run that entity in the next 2 years. And they voted for two directors. One is my colleague Jacques-Charles Lafoucrière from CEA, and the other one is me. On the second meeting, March 22nd, Eurotech from Italy, a subsidiary of Finmeccanica, and Xyratex joined, and the Rechenzentrum Garching of the Max-Planck-Gesellschaft is on its way. We already voted them in, but because of their special legal framework, they are still waiting for the final board acceptance, which will come within the next couple of weeks. So, what are the goals for that cooperative, for that SCE? It is the promotion and the establishment and adoption of open source parallel file systems. And see, it is a plural, it is an S, so it's not only focused on Lustre. These days primarily because we need a highly scalable open file system, but we are open for other innovative solutions in the future to come, to sustain and enhance its quality, capabilities and functionality, and to ensure that specific requirements of European organizations, institutions and companies are upheld. Number two, to facilitate the extension of business operations to non-members, which is of importance because we are not only working for those who are members, for those who are contributing to these goals, but we also would like to distribute the results to the entire community here and around the world. So it's not only focused on European open file system work as well. Third, to initiate projects or to collaborate with existing projects at regional, national, European and international level in order to support research and development activities concerning open file systems, to ensure that engagement and activities with other organizations will not directly or indirectly interfere with the intellectual property or other contractual and legal obligation of its members. And this sentence was heavily discussed because we wanted to be as open to all potential members as possible, and especially, I remember a lot of negotiations going on from HP but also from others. There came a clear sign: don't interfere with existing IPs with other members. Keep it open so that everybody can be involved, everybody can support this development, but without any problems from the legal department. So we did so and voted for that unanimously. So EOFS is not going to be the one owning IP. We are the platform where our partners can develop and can share IP and ideas. We don't want to become a point of conflict. And finally, to operate as a non-profit organization, which also means we have no membership fees. So there is not a wall between you and EOFS when it comes to the yearly fees. The most important part in these difficult months since Aptos was, where is the Lustre tree? Where is the repository? Which company will be the one driving it? How can we get Lustre out of the emergency room? So we agreed again unanimously in that meeting on March 22nd in Munich. And I read it because it's of importance. That is our basis and should give back strength to the community. We all agree on one repository for Lustre, which is currently hosted by WAM Cloud. So also Xyratex agreed to use this tree to make it very clear and simple for developers and for users in the future. We all fully support the upcoming 2.1 community release of Lustre by WAM Cloud. And we acknowledge our members' efforts to continue contributing to the further development and support of Lustre and add features, patches to the one single repository. And it was also of importance that our colleagues and friends at CEA in Paris, for instance, our friends at LRC, our friends in Jülich, they all agree to give their patches to the one tree. And there was no vote against that. The future of Lustre. That Lustre is an important open file system. I think it's obvious if you look to the top 500 list. The majority of the big systems run on Lustre, and now take Lustre away. And just think what the outcome would be if you take that away. Which file system will survive then? And what this would mean to an open market of vendors and users, not only in Europe, but around the world. So now, the structure of the Lustre open source community today is as follows. At LUC 2011, We showed that the user group is alive and back on stage. There are quite interesting and nice movies by Rich on the website, if you could have a look on that, so you see how we structured LUG and made them live again after Aptos. We have still two platforms in the United States. One is Open SFS, led by Lawrence Livermore National Lab, by Oak Ridge, by DDN and Cray, and HP-CFS, Bill Bower's initiative, which is an entity to form a community surrounding Lustre. And we have the European Open File Systems Cooperative, our European initiative. Now, that looks strong, but it wasn't. Because when I flew into the Lustre user group 2011, there was a lot of discussion going on before. We all know that OpenSFS, primarily driven by these four groups, and HP-CFS were in a fight. There's no better way to say. And our feeling was, if this would continue, it's finally not Oracle who took Lustre on Linux away. It might be the platforms who established themselves to have a future for Lustre, but cannot agree on the single points, necessary points for Lustre's survival. We went with them into meeting rooms. We had Bill Bowers, we had the other guys, Norman Morse, we had Galen Shipman and others, and we were sitting together. And we started to think about the future of Lustre if we would leave Orlando without an agreement. It would have been done, because we already saw that a lot of sites decided for GPFS because they started to no longer believe in Lustre's future. So that was really like an operation in the emergency room. Having that in mind, we finally found a way out of that emergency room and that disaster. One was that we said at EOFS we will continue our work to show strength to the community, and we announced in Orlando September 26 and 27 we will meet again in Paris, we will have a workshop at CEA, you can rely on us. This still didn't solve the problem, of course, because it was still a fight between the two US platforms. After the meeting, we could go on stage, and I was happy to make the following announcement. We are convinced that this strong joint statement, which you can see below, of all three Lustre platforms will bring back the confidence to the community and the HPC market, which is so badly needed in the market. What did we agree on in this one evening and the 2 days in Orlando? Number one, the HP-CFS members become OpenSFS members. OpenSFS bylaws and contributorship agreement will change according to what Bill Bower's HP-CFS and others outside OpenSFS required. OpenSFS agreed on that. And EOFS and OpenSFS will remain as the two platforms worldwide to foster the Lustre development. On Wednesday of the coming week, in a breakfast meeting at 7:30 in the big hall over there at ISC, we can sign the Memorandum of Understanding between European Open File System Cooperative and OpenSFS. Norman Morse, the president of OpenSFS, will come, and we will show to everybody that the fight is over that Lustre is not only out of the emergency room, but out of the hospital. It's alive again, a broad future, and we will make that very clear when we do the signature between 7:30 and 8:45 in the morning. Bill Bowers agreed finally and said HP-CFS members are unanimous in accepting the bylaws and contributorship agreement. He made it clear in public on June the 6th. So you see it was still a negotiation until the last couple of days. And the future relationship between EOFS and Open SFS will be that we both recognize that to succeed in this endeavor will require the collaboration and the cooperation with a goal of fostering a single community that works across organizations to meet their mutual goals, including sustaining, development, promoting, etc., etc., which is necessary to have freedom of choice for the vendors and the users. I mentioned the EOFS breakfast session, why to create a European open file system initiative. I would like to invite you to that breakfast meeting. We all know that it's very early and there might be a long evening before with all these nice evening events, but I tell you one thing, it is necessary. And as one of those people who tried to help Lustre and to do all the negotiations and sometimes being on an edge where we thought there might no outcome. For us, it's a huge success. And it's a huge success for all these developers, for all the companies supporting Lustre on Linux, for all the sites who already turned away from Lustre to HP-CFS, and with HP-CFS to certain vendors, losing the freedom of decision because they did no longer rely on a future on Lustre. Now we can tell them, you got that freedom back. For us, it was very important, and sometimes people were asking us in the board, as directors, why are you guys doing that? Why are you doing all that effort? Why are you investing time and money for Lustre? And I bring up an experience I had together with the research center in Jülich when we built Europa 2 together. Honestly spoken, without Lustre and without relying on their development scheme, a system like Europa with more than 3,400 nodes, number 10 in 2 years ago in the top 500 list, would not have been possible at all. So experiencing that kind of freedom which comes out of an open parallel file system like Lustre made us going, made us working, made us spending night and day with people, convincing them, bringing them back on the table. It was worth. So please join us on Wednesday and celebrate with us. Not only the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding between these two platforms, but also feel a little bit the happiness of those who will have to make a decision for their system in the months and years to come, and can then make an open and free decision between file systems and not having a file system as their first decision and then the vendor decision as a sequence out of that parallel file system. I think that gives back the freedom we all need for the development, also on our way to exascale, what we learned earlier this morning. So I'm a little bit tired after that year. Rich, you were witness of that in Orlando, but more than happy that we finally made it and can bring back that message to you. Lustre is alive and you have the freedom to choose it. Thank you very much.